crypto is gonna crash. I can guarantee it. But I am also not bearish on crypto either. I'm here to tell you that the market crash is a feature of the market. We consistently see crypto crashes every couple of years, and this is nothing to be afraid of. This is something that's natural. I think it's actually good for the market. It flushes out the leverage, it flushes out the weak hands, it flushes out the tourists, and I kind of want to walk you through it. I am bullish for the next year. I'm bullish for Bitcoin over the long term and for crypto. But I think now is a great time to be setting up your plan. If you haven't done it already, I've been saying this for years, you need a plan in crypto because it is extremely volatile. So let's talk about it. If you don't mind, hit subscribe. There are links underneath the video in case you want to trade crypto. Let's get into it though. We have the S&P 500, we have the NASDAQ falling down a bit, Bitcoin's down 20%, and people are worried. I've been watching the Google Trends data, and there are a lot of people looking up Bitcoin crash, crypto crash, stock crash. And this is nowhere near the pullbacks that we've seen on these assets in the past. 2022 was really rough. Bitcoin went down 75, 80%. The NASDAQ went down 30% in 6 months. We had a lot of tech stocks going down 50, 60%. So things can get worse, to be clear. And at some point they will. At some point, stocks will fall down significantly. Oh, got to help out the dog for a second. Stocks will fall down significantly. Crypto will fall down significantly as well. Bitcoin will fall down. But this isn't supposed to be bearish. This is just supposed to be a reminder that this is normal. So when things get overvalued, you probably want to take a little bit of profit. In general, I think it is smart to keep some cash, right? No one wants to keep cash in a greedy market, but that's the time to be shoring up cash, right? You should have cash on the sidelines for a couple of different reasons. One, it keeps you sane. So when the market does fall down, you look at it as an opportunity. You come at the market from a place of strength instead of a place of weakness. You're not worried about the market falling down. You're actually excited so you can dollar cost average. And I think that's probably the biggest benefit, because there are some studies that say that you shouldn't hold very much cash because in general the markets go up, but that's assuming you're rational, and a lot of people do not act rationally. The other thing is, if you have some kind of hardship, if something comes up, you lose your job, the economy gets worse, it is good to have cash because then you're not a forced seller, right? When the economy goes down, asset prices go down too. What you don't want is to have assets, have to sell them at rock bottom pricing because you lose your job. So I like to keep some cash around. Right now, I'm 25% cash. I've been buying a decent amount of tech stocks and index funds. I bought a lot of Bitcoin during the bear market. Then it grew a lot, so it grew to be an outsized portion of my portfolio. Been trying to find real estate, but there aren't a lot of deals out there. So it's kind of a tough place. I know a lot of people, they're in a similar place where they want to buy assets, but nothing seems cheap. Nothing really quite makes sense. So it's an interesting spot to be in. Now, like I said, I think it makes sense to have some cash. Of course, you don't want to go crazy. Oh, turkey. Oh, turkey right here. Sorry, come on. I don't think it makes sense to be, 50% cash or anything like that, unless you really think a market is going to drop or the market's going to drop. But even then, chances are it doesn't, and you lose out on a lot of potential upside. But I do think it makes sense to have some in cash. Then also to just minimize your expenses within reason, so that way you can dollar cost average over time, right? That's part of it too. If you have a good job, you should be able to dollar cost average even without having cash. You should have less expenses every month than you bring in. Pretty elementary stuff, but stuff that I think should be said. You should be a buyer of assets over time. So when they get discounted, you actually, again, you can just purchase over time and have a long-term outlook. With that in mind, a crash is coming at some point. We've seen a 10% drop. Some tech stocks have fallen down 20, 30% on tariff concerns. But again, it's nothing like 2022. It's nothing like 2020. It's nothing like 2009. So it could always get worse. The key is to be in the market for the long term, have that long-term focus, build cash flow, have diversification as well. I think that's important because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, right? I mean, someone back in 2020 or 2021 could have put all their money, and there were people that did this, put all their money in NFTs because it's the fastest growing asset class, and then just went away. Very illiquid. Looking back at it, it's pretty obvious. But there were a lot of people at the time that said, "Oh, I can make 500% in a month. I'm gonna go put $100,000 in this." Probably not the best idea. I think it's important to build a base outside of crypto. I don't think it's smart. I mean, there are a handful of people that invest everything they make into Bitcoin, and it's treated them well. But there is a bit of a survivorship bias behind that too. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will do well long term. But I do think it makes sense to have assets outside of Bitcoin as well. And if nothing else, right, even if it doesn't appreciate as much, again, if it keeps your head on straight, if it allows you to dollar cost average a little bit heavier during the bad times, I think that's important. I mean, if Bitcoiners are right, is it really going to matter whether you have a 15% allocation right now or a 50%? I mean, maybe you can buy a third home instead of a second home. But if Bitcoin goes up to, $13 million like Michael Saylor thinks, you're going to be doing really well either way. The question is, can you hold on to it for that entire time, right? How many forced sellers are there going to be? Or, are there going to be people that lose their job? And maybe they're not for seller, but they just can't dollar cost average as much. They already feel like, they've put everything they can into Bitcoin and they don't want that volatility. So it's something to consider, right? I think in this game with such a volatile asset, even if it appreciates really well and is the future, the fact is psychology is so important. So I do think it's important to hold some cash, to diversify a bit. Maybe I'm over-diversified. I do have a very significant portion of my net worth in Bitcoin-related assets, but again, I wanna diversify outside of Bitcoin, and I fully realize that I will underperform if Bitcoin does what I think it will do. I'll underperform what I could have, but again, it keeps your head on straight for the eventual crash, and there will be another crash. It's bound to happen. It's nothing to be scared about. It's nothing to be worried about. But I do think it makes sense, as I said, to hold some cash because you don't know what will happen. Right? There will be drawdowns. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin over the medium term. You never know what's going to happen over the next 30, 60 days or anything like that. But I'm very bullish over the medium term, the long term as well. I do think, obviously, in the next couple of years, we'll have I think we'll have a significant drawdown. Could be the first time we don't get one, right? If nations start buying significant amounts, set out plans, just continuously purchase Bitcoin. But also, I think there are obviously regular drawdowns, just like we're seeing right now. Bitcoin's down 20. It was down 30% recently. So I think that will be a time where, if you have some cash, you can dollar cost average a little bit heavier. And if you're diversified, if you're making a good income, if you have some passive income outside of crypto, makes you feel like you can dollar cost average a little bit more aggressively. Let me know your thoughts underneath the video. I really do appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.